Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in here. Welcome for a first time, or welcome back if you're maybe it's a couple times, or if you're a self proclaimed groupie of ours. Of course, welcome back, our favorites. But if you would, and this is something again familiar for some of you, not for others, but just it's always fun for us to see where are you in the world. Tell us where you're at in the graduating class of your student here, your college bound student. I think really we're primarily 26s and 27s tonight, but again, we always get some folks that are, oh my God, hair on fire 25s, and maybe some extra ambitious, 28s, 29s, etc. But yeah, tell us where you're at and graduating class, your student. Again, that's always fun for us to see and just kind of confirm here. Awesome. And you'll see we love we love to make this thing interactive, right? You guys don't want two talking heads just screaming at you for the next, 45 minutes or an hour or so here. Um, and we want to answer the questions that are top of mind for you all. I have to imagine there's just um, some particular questions that are kind of keeping you up at night, and this is an opportunity to get those answered, certainly as many as we can. Now, I will say, just from a housekeeping standpoint, once we kind of get into the presentation, we want you to put your questions in the Q&A. I know that you guys are doing the right thing and hanging out in the chat right now. Triplets class of 2026. Hello. Um, and then because whichever one of us is not speaking, myself or GPA, we're going to be living in the Q&A, just getting to as many questions as we possibly can. And just a note there, we won't get to everyone. Please don't take it personal if we don't get to yours. And oftentimes we have to say, listen, great question. We would need more context or more information. Otherwise it would be reckless for us to try to take a best guess without kind of seeing the whole picture. Okay, so without further ado here, by way of quick introduction, my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm founder of College A Pro here. Uh, 2025 is kind of a special year for me because that marks the 20th year that I've been doing this, which is just amazing to say out loud. 20 years I've been kind of shepherding, guiding families through this crazy admissions, financial aid maze. It's incredibly challenging. It's incredibly rewarding, which is why I think I'm addicted and don't see myself going anywhere else. Because it's because of those two things. And I think especially it seems to get more crazy each year, obviously in terms of the prices, but just how convoluted it is and this lack of transparency. So we really pride ourselves on being the source of truth. There's so much freaking information out there, but it's really hard to say, like, who can I believe? What is the kind of objective, third party here? And again, that's what we do, right? That is our aim. Um, my kind of partner in crime here tonight, JP Schmidt. We're actually representing both coasts here tonight, right? I'm just north of Boston. We got JP out there in Southern California. And JP is someone that we call internally and externally a unicorn because for most of us, myself included, you're either an admissions expert or kind of a financial expert, right? And I'm on that financial side of the fence. JP's both, right? So JP spent the bulk of his career in higher education, and he's been on both sides of the table. He was a director of financial aid at University of Southern California, USC, for quite a while. He was in admissions there. So again, just incredibly well versed before he kind of again went to the other side of the desk to work directly with families and students on both the admissions and financial aid side. And JP, why don't you just introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll kind of dive into the content, of which there's no shortage tonight.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. My name's JP. Man, I started with USC back in 2020, or no, 2000. And so it's been, yeah, my 25th year kind of in higher education. I spent 18 years at USC. I didn't take 18 years to graduate, mind you, but that's my professional career at USC. And so, yeah, director of financial aid, worked with enrollment services, worked in the dean's office. I'm at that stage where students that I helped back then are now parents and they're sending their kids to me. now. But born and raised Iowa, and moved out to the West Coast, and except for these little fires in LA, I'd say it's been pretty good. So, but yeah, that's my spiel.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you, buddy. And I'm gonna get us started tonight on the kind of financial front, the affordability piece. JP will talk about it too, because guess what? You always got to be talking about it. It's just, with the nature of, uh, the paying for college today and affording college today, it just has to be, unfortunately, an important part of the conversation with admissions. You can't really talk about one without the other, in our opinion. Um, and again, here's us, right? This is our mission, pretty straightforward, and the student debt crisis. And this is how we do it, by making smart decisions at the foundation, at the root of this. It's not about forgiving debt at the end. If we forgive everybody's debt, how are we not in the same place 20 years from now, right? This is how we do it. It's just going to be the two of us tonight. The fairy godmother of financial aid, Peggy, will not be joining us tonight, but of course, as always, she will be joining us soon. We get this question all the time. Just where do we start? Where the heck do we start with this thing? I see most of you have done this already. If you haven't, do it right now. I just put the link in the chat. You're going to create a free account. It's going to tell you exactly what your financial aid eligibility is, exactly what your scholarship eligibility is, and just kind of ground you to say, okay, here's where we are, and confirm or deny kind of your intuition, your beliefs. Create a free account, because you're going to get more out of this presentation as you're kind of looking at your own account and listening to JP and myself. And we'll be in and out of the software to go over some actual case studies. So I want to start high level here. And by the way, I know we'll get this question all the time too. This is being recorded. Everybody will get the recording tomorrow. We're going to talk at the end, if you want to talk to us one-on-one, exactly how to do that. We're actually doing something. I just told this to JP in the green room. We're actually doing a first tonight in terms of what we're going to be giving away to the live attendees on tonight's presentation. So make sure, if you got to bop in and out, make sure that you pay attention for the last 5-10 minutes tonight. So what is financial aid, right? In its highest, most basic level, it's a discount from the sticker price. Anytime we're not paying the full sticker price at college, we're getting some type of financial aid. And there's three broad buckets. Okay. There's need-based grants. Need-based grants, beautiful thing. This is free money, okay? And this is free money that's given to us based on our family's financial profile, and then how these particular colleges award aid, right? One of the many confusing parts about this process is that we might apply to 10 schools, we present the exact same financial situation to all those schools, and guess what we get back? 10 different awards, because they run their business differently. It's important that you think of colleges as businesses, because they are, right? They don't pay taxes, but these are very sophisticated, multi-billion dollar corporations. Okay. And it's important to have that mentality. And we'll talk about the why as we kind of go along here. But that's the first type of discounts we can get. Second type, merit-based scholarships. Most of us are familiar with this, right? These are these admissions counselors are going to be reading your kids' applications this summer, the summer after that, and they're going to be going, damn, we don't care how much the parents make here. We want this student on our campus. We're going to give them a financial incentive to come here, right? Merit-based scholarships. I'm going to show you exactly how to find out which colleges are going to give your kids scholarships and how much are they going to give you. Okay, we'll do that in just a few minutes here, and I'll show you how to do it within the platform. Last type of quote unquote financial aid, self-help, right? There's some positives about this, but in short, it's not a priority because it's not free money. This is money that we're going to have to pay back plus interest. The colleges call it financial aid, which is a little bit confusing, but it's a sexy term for loans. But every single person that completes the FAFSA is guaranteed to get what we believe, and there's a lot of data to support this, is an outstanding student loan you're guaranteed to get up to $27,000 over the course of 4 years of college, so long as you complete the FAFSA. So we always want everybody to take advantage of that. There's a bunch of reasons why, which we'll probably not spend a ton of time on tonight, but take my word for that. Okay. Okay. So you heard me mention it before. One of the parts that makes this process so confusing is the fact that every one of these colleges is different, right? The most common answer we'll give to a question is depends on the college. And we're not being lazy with that answer. It's just the truth. So that makes it again, that is a very challenging thing from a transparency standpoint. Well, are the colleges that are my kids' top choices gonna give us discounts? How much? Need-based aid, merit-based scholarships, and they all of these different formulas. But there's one base foundational formula that every single college uses for every single student to determine your family's eligibility for need-based financial aid. So, in order to us to have kind of a foundation of knowledge here, of education, we want to get comfortable with this formula. Now, again, will it vary from one college to the next? 100%. But this is where they start. And that is the cost of attendance minus your family's student aid index or SAI. And if there's a difference between those two figures, that difference is the amount of need based financial aid your student is potentially eligible for. So let's unpack this a little bit, right? When I say cost of attendance, I'm talking about the all-in sticker price, room and board fees, miscellaneous costs. You guys are going to be, unfortunately, next fall is going to be the first year. We're going to have a couple dozen colleges that are going to be over the $100,000 annual cost of attendance sticker price, right? Let's just say we're talking about one of those schools, and you have a student aid index of $50,000, and that's according to your FAFSA, your CSS profile, right? That's how the colleges has that was kind of their net result of your income, assets, etc. So now we're eligible for $50,000 worth of need-based financial aid. So what happens? Do I pay for that? Does a college pay for that? That's where it depends on the college, because some colleges you only pay your student aid index. I say only with $50,000 a year in that hypothetical, right? Other colleges, they're going to pay 50% of your need or 25%. So that's where we really want to know, okay, what are good fits for my kid that are really generous with need-based financial aid if we are eligible. Now, there's a couple things I want to talk about when it comes to the SAI, because again, this is the foundation for determining how much or how little need-based financial aid you're going to get. Number one, and this is very common and a very easy mistake to make, what's considered an asset? The short answer to that question is everything but your retirement accounts, your 401ks, your 403bs, your 457s, your IRAs, your Roths. Those are not your pensions. Those are not going to count against you. Okay. Do not put them in the FAFSA, and I want to just burn that into your brain because it's incredibly common and a really detrimental mistake that's fairly easy to make. Um, when you're reporting assets, you're reporting the value of them on the day that you submit the form. Okay, it is real time type of deal. And you see this note here is debt considered. The short answer is no. However, okay, and we don't spend a lot of time on this tonight. We are always thinking about appeals. What is appeals? It's essentially negotiating with the colleges to get a better deal after your initial offer. And sometimes we can leverage debt at that point because it's really not considered for the most part in the foundational formula. Okay. A couple other talking points. Parent assets are considered with much less emphasis than any money in the student's name. So even if you got, 10 grand in the student savings account, they've been industrious kids, they've been saving, they've saved their, bar mitzvah and first communion money, and we have 10 grand in savings account. By the time we submit these financial aid applications, we want a parent or parent's name on those accounts, and then include it as the parent's assets because that's going to be much less detrimental to our SAI and therefore our financial aid eligibility than if we have this money in the student's name. So that's kind of one of those examples of easy things that we can do to maximize our financial aid eligibility. Grandparent 529s no longer count at all. Sibling 529s no longer count at all. Like easy mistakes to make, important mistakes that we do not want to make. If you have a custodial account, UGMA, UTMA, these are technically the student's assets. But as parents, guys, if you have a 529, that is your money. Okay. It is not the student's. And that's a really important distinction going back to my point from a minute ago there, because when we report it on the financial aid forms, it's really important that we report it the correct way as your money, parent money, because again, it'll kill our financial aid eligibility if we say that that's a student asset, right? Which again, very, very common mistake. Last thing I'll talk about here, real estate. This is where it can be, this kind of like inside baseball information becomes really important. Colleges that only require the FAFSA, your home equity, your primary residence is irrelevant. right? Doesn't matter if you own a $2 million mansion outright or if you rent your apartment, doesn't matter. Okay. Most of these colleges that require the CSS profile, which is most private colleges or hundreds of private colleges, they think that your home equity is fair game to varying degrees. So it becomes incredibly important for your financial aid eligibility of how do we value our home? Should we do it Zillow? Should we do it assessed? Should we use the IRS quick sale value? Should we use Redfin? How do we show the debt on the home? Do we include all of our equity line? Because the amount of equity in your home for a ton of you, right, will be the biggest asset that you will be showing to these colleges. So we really want to get that right in terms of how we're presenting it to these schools. Okay. Income. The colleges are looking at assets are reported in real time, right? But when it comes to income, they're looking at your prior tax year. So for class 2025, right? So for you seniors, as you know, they're looking at your 23 tax returns. Class 2026, they're looking at these tax returns that you're getting ready to complete right now, and so on and so forth. So that's just more of an FYI. This can especially be important is if in your base income year, right? So for you 2026, if 24 was an anomaly in the sense that you had a really high income relative to what you're used to, this is something that we know we're going to be appealing with these colleges to say, okay, yes, you only are looking at our 2024 tax year, but we will need to give you all this context and all this data and all this proof that that was a, again, a one-time kind of aberration here. Okay, so that's your crash course in need-based financial aid. What if I don't qualify for need? And just a percentage of you are not going to, right? And now there's not an easy answer. I can't just say if you're above this income and assets, you're not getting any because we've seen families with incomes well into the six figures, okay, still qualify for need-based financial aid. So don't disqualify yourself. But if you are one of these families, there are a couple things I want you thinking about. Number one, I'm going to show you in a second to figure out who's going to give you scholarships for how much money and exactly how you can do that. Okay. Number two, and these are just kind of some talking points here. Some of these colleges, regardless of your financial aid eligibility, require that you do the financial aid applications to be considered for scholarships. I always use NYU as an example because they're very popular, very expensive school, and they fit into this category, right? Do not leave money on the table, guys. Also understand there's now about 100 schools in the country. Scholarships don't exist. There's not one Ivy League college that offers scholarships. Nobody that goes to MIT is there on a scholarship, or Amherst, or Williams, or Middlebury, Bates, Bowdoin, blah blah blah. Right, about 100 schools. So we just got to know that, especially if we're got this really smart kid that's looking at these types of schools, and maybe we're hoping to qualify for some scholarships. We just have to know going in, it's not possible at those schools. Okay, and this one here is just not a. And the last point I'll make before I jump on the platform not common knowledge to my experience. Um, as we're building this list of schools, we always need to keep in mind we need to apply to competing colleges. Okay. If you come to my hometown, you come to Boston and you visit Boston University and you visit Northeastern and you loved BU and you hated Northeastern, so you said, I'm only applying to BU, I'm going to say, no, you're not. You're applying to Northeastern too because we're going to use that deal and we're going to use it as leverage to get more money out of Boston University. Okay, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't force your hand there. Now, obviously, I'm picking on two schools. That applies across the board, okay, with comparable schools. This is an important strategy for everybody as you're compiling your list of colleges, but especially so if you're not eligible for need-based financial aid, right? Because think about it. Again, these colleges are businesses. You'll hear us both say that more than once every single day that we have an audience. But if if we can get a show a college, right, that their competitor is giving us, 20,000 more dollars or whatever it is, it takes our financial situation off the table. And now you say, do you want us to go to your main competitor, or do you want to give us a better deal? Okay. So again, most of you have already completed your accounts here. So this is you know what your home dashboard looks like. But you took the guesswork out of it already. You know what your SAIs are at the federal level, at the institutional level. More importantly, what are these colleges actually going to cost you? Right? What is BC going to be versus Columbia versus whatever it happens to be? And this is a great example here where Well, why is BC so much more expensive than Columbia? Well, they look at 100% of home equity. Columbia does not. Uh, Tulane is kind of somewhere in the middle here. That's I'm telling you more than you need to know. It's all baked into the algorithm, but kind of the secret sauce is in the algorithm. It's going to show you based on your situation, here's what this school is going to give you. Okay. For every college in the country, we have every single scholarship that they offer, the qualifications for each, and we're really good at telling you, how much is your kid going to get. Okay. Now, I showed you, or I told you, I'm going to show you how to find who's going to give you the most in scholarships, the most in financial aid. This is how you do it. So you go for this search for schools tab. Okay. Then you'll come up to our advanced search here. There's dozens of filters. We're not going to go through all of them, but I'll just pick a couple. So let's just say your kid wants to be at a smaller college and they want to be pretty close to home and they want to major in, whatever. Okay. You can put, again, any number of filters in there. And then I can just say, go rank order them based on who's going to give me the most in scholarships. And boom, it'll instantly populate, right? And okay, well, that's interesting. Dickinson we were talking about, and I didn't know they were going to give us 43,000 regardless of our income. Or if I am eligible for financial aid because the platform told me as much, go sort just based on who's most generous in financial aid. And all right, well, it's impossible to get into MIT, but here's some other, schools that are outstanding with need-based financial aid and are maybe a little bit more palpable from an admissions standpoint. So this is where you should be living right now as you build your list. And this is a starting place, right? What is my financial aid eligibility? What is my scholarship eligibility? What are some of the colleges that we're talking about going to cost? And then just starting to go shop based on, who's going to be the most cost effective for your family. And let me see, JP. I think I can get out of your way here. And yes, I can. So and guys, I understand that I was flying through that. So that is I apologize. Everybody's going to get the recording. We'll do our best with questions. But we're trying to fit a bunch of content in tonight to give you that foundation from both the financial standpoint as well as the admissions piece. And I want to make sure JP has enough time to take his time through this one.
Thanks, sir. So I kind of want to pull back, and these are kind of the common questions I tend to get with families when I do consults and we talk about strategies and such. But let's just pull back for a second. And I want to say this: when you're trying to figure out this maze to college, pull back and ask yourself, ask your child, why? Why are you going to college? I think sometimes we overlook that question. And we just assume that that's what you should do, even though all the data suggests, no, we really shouldn't. That shouldn't be an automatic for everyone. I think it's super important to know that why. I mean, I work with high school kids, from freshman, sophomore, junior, and obviously senior years. And overwhelming majority of the students I work with, and they're, all over the country, they yearn to make a difference. Like they have this desire. They like, I want to be significant someday. I want to have purpose. I want to make the world a better place. They kind of have that sense of why. Now, sometimes they don't know that why yet or that direction yet. And it's so important to have that. And I say this because just even from a financial perspective, I'm going to do a little quiz. Put this in the chat. This is one of the few times I'm going to say put something in the chat. Tell me what percent of students do you think graduate college in 4 years? I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are. Don't Google it. Don't cheat. What's your gut?
I'm going to put it in there. I have no idea.
All right. I'm seeing a bunch of, yeah. So the average 4-year graduation rate is around 35%. You give your student 50% more time, about 35% graduate in 4 years, national average. If you give them 6 years total, so give them a 50% more time, 6 years, that rises to around 58%. I bring this up because there's many reasons why it takes so long, but one of the reasons is because what's really popular since the 80s was this notion of apply to college undeclared. It's okay. You don't need to know what you want to do. We'll help you figure it out. Another great sales tactic by higher education. I've worked in higher education for 18 years. I know we love it when people say they don't know what they want to do and apply undecided because we know you're going to be here for at least one more year and we get another year's worth of tuition out of you. So, just from a financial perspective, it's important to know your why, have that sense of direction. And that's probably one of I think the most critical things I think you need to ask and help your child figure out. Um, is figure out that sense of direction. And that's again, that's stuff that we do as pros, but that's something I would tell you that's your secret starting point, if you will. I don't care if your child's a junior right now. I don't care if they're a sophomore. Start figuring out why college. Okay. But with that said, let's say you know your why. And it's like, well, now we got to figure out how to get there. Like, what's that path? Well, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Can you just go to the next slide? There's roughly 4,000 colleges in America. And there's more if you factor in the trade schools and all that, right? There's roughly 4,000 colleges in America. And so when students are like, oh, this is the ones I want to attend to, these are the ones I want to apply to, we tend to think about the ones that like are in our state, the ones we grew up next to in the area, or those schools that maybe have big football teams or basketball teams, or that manipulate the rankings so they just have really good marketing and they make themselves look really good. Whatever. Like we tend to think of those, but again, there's almost 4,000 schools out there to think about. There's way more out there than we realize, that are available to us. And I always say, what's the chances that you just happen to be like living in the state where the right school is for your child? Statistically, it's not probable. So, so I kind of have my method, if you will, of how I try to help families and approach this process of going, let's start with finding the right college, and because there's no such thing as best college, right? But how do we find the right college? Again, I'm just encouraging, I want to do a little feedback here, put it in the chat. What are some of the criteria that you would think is important to find the right college? Go and put in the chat there if you got some thoughts. Like what are the criteria you're looking at? For example, is it rank? Is it distance? Okay. Now, Allison, is it because you want them to be close to home or away from home? Major, price, location. Yep. All right. Research budget. Strong school for the major. Fit. All right. Fit can mean a lot of things, but yeah. All right. I like these. Okay. All right. So let's talk about like just the simple pragmatic method I use, if you will. Matt, can you go to the next? Yeah. So I look at it and go, like, think of it as a funnel, 4,000 schools, big. How do I funnel this down to a manageable number? Well, the first funnel, if you will, is going to be what I call academic fit. Can you hit the space bar?
Let me sorry, I'm in the Q&A here. Going to get my.
No worries. So first thing, like I said, I think about is like academic fit, and simply doesn't offer the right program. Where I'm at, I have conversations every year where someone says, I want my child to go to UCLA. I'm like, it's a great school. It's a fine school, number one rated school, blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, they're going to study. And they go, well, they're going to study business. And I'm like, well, then you're not going to UCLA. Well, no, they have to. They have to go to UCLA. Well, then they can't study business. Well, no, they need to study business. I'm like, UCLA doesn't offer that as a major, people. So like, you got to pick the school that has the right program. You want to think about like also learning environment. Does it, if your child if the way their brain works and they learn through like traditional learning channels, like lectures and books, Okay, like, is that a good learning environment? Does that school provide that kind of learning environment? Or does your child learn more from experiential learning opportunities? Do they need to do group work and such like that? Okay, what schools offer that kind of learning environment, right? You want to think about that. Will they be with their academic peers? All of those kind of things you want to think about when you're filtering a school based on academic fit. So that's always where I start, is that first funnel. To me, that's a must have. It must have it must be an academic fit. Let's go on to the next one, financial fit. I'm going to just simply say, does it fit your budget? Plain and simple. Like, we figure out your budget. Does it fit your budget? And we'll talk more about that. Let's go to the next one, personal fit. So if you got schools that you've now worked down this funnel, it's like, okay, this is an academic fit. Check. All right, now which ones are the financial fits? Like, they fit our budget. Check. This list is getting smaller now. You potentially will have a list of maybe 25 to 50 schools that meet those first two criteria. Again, those are must-have criteria. Now you get down to the personal fit. This is where you hand the list to your child and say, go shop, so to speak, and say, find the schools that based upon your wants. For example, I want to be at a school with a closed campus, or I want to be at a school with an open campus. I want to be at a smaller school. I want to be at a bigger school. I want to be on the East Coast, or I want to be on the West, whatever. Those are the I wants, right? At that stage, mom and dad, me, like, we don't care what the student picked on the I wants, because we know it was an academic fit. We know the list we showed them was an academic fit, and it was a financial fit. So go shop, if you will, right? Narrow it down based upon those I wants. And when you get it down to, like, I call it your top 10, some of my best students got their list down to 5. Some of them go to 12. Admittedly, if you're over 15, I'm concerned that you probably aren't doing a real serious effort on this, but get it down to, like, your top 10. That's when you work on your admission strategy. And go ahead and hit that space bar there. So that's just to give you a visual. That's my pragmatic, nothing fancy sexy here. It's just a very pragmatic funnel of how I narrow this down with my clients. So I hope this visual gives you an idea. So let's go to the next. Let's just dive into it a little bit more. Academic fit. Again, does it offer the program I want to study? When I say, will I be, with my academic peers, I'm going online and I'm looking up the range for the GPA of the incoming freshman and the test scores, SAT or an ACT. I'm looking at, am I at least above the 25th percentile? Or in this case, my child, are they at least above the 25th percentile? Again, the learning environment, if you will. Honors. I think it was on one of our earlier slides. If your child wants that private school experience, but you have a public school budget, find the public schools that have great honors programs, right? Look for that. Research opportunities. Do they want to be doing interdisciplinary studies? All of these kinds of things. This is what you want to think about. And there's more, but these are some of the things you want to think about when you're trying to narrow down a school based on academic fit. Okay. Go to the next. Financial fit. There's no easier way to say it than can we afford it? And that's where you got to figure out your budget, right?
And we'll have, I'm sorry to cut you off, JP, and I'll let you.
Yeah.
If we have an extra minute at the end, I'll show you exactly how to get kind of a instant knee jerk of, well, because a lot of times, I don't know, can we? But I'll show you how we do that in the platform to at least
perfect. Because I always say that's probably, I feel like, is one of the most underutilized tools in the MyCap software is the budgeting tool, and therefore, can we afford it discussion. So that's an important tool in my opinion. And I don't care how we afford it. Meaning, once we determine our budget, I don't care where I got the free money from. I don't care if it came from that bucket of need-based aid, the grants. I don't care if it came from the merit-based bucket, the scholarships. As long as I got the free money to bring the sticker price down, great, right? So can we afford it, right? So that's got to be a must. And then as far as that personal fit criteria, again, these are all the I wants. So these are some of the things that tend to come up. For me personally, the thing that you can't research, at least not on paper, but you ultimately are going to have to, I think, go to the campus. And the best tip I'll give, at least before you commit to a school, like you might have applied to the school, but before you commit to a school, visit it, because I don't know how else to say it other than a school has a vibe to it. Just like cities, like whether I go to Boston or I go to Chicago or I go to New York or I'm out in LA or San Francisco, every city has a vibe to it, right? Do I vibe with that city? In this case, do I vibe with that college campus? You don't know until you've basically stepped foot onto campus. So that's probably my final, the true note, like, will this be a personal fit? Go visit the campus, right? But these are the things I think about in terms of personal fit. But go to the next. Again, think of that funnel strategy that I visualization. You get that list down to, like, again, your top 10. It doesn't have to be 10, but I grew up with David Letterman, so I think top 10, right? You got to know your admission strategy, okay? And I'm going to say that strategy depends on the selectivity of the college. Can you hit the space bar there? I'm going to summarize it. I use a sports analogy. The sports analogy I like to think of it is in terms of defense and offense for your admission strategy. Okay, your defensive admission strategy is your academics. It's the hard data that is tracked by your school, whether they use Naviance or Squire or whatever they use, right? The hard data, and that's going to be your GPA, the academic rigor, like did you take the hard classes, your test scores, AP test scores, ACT, SAT, all of that stuff matters. All the data shows, in case I'm sure someone will ask at some point, like, what about test optional? That's another presentation we do all the time, but data shows that submitting your test score improves your chances of getting admitted. But anyway, that's your defensive strategy, right? Is this hard data that gets tracked, easily trackable anyway. If you are applying to schools that are just really not that selective, I'll be honest, the defensive strategy is the main thing you just need to focus on. Okay. When it comes to at least trying to get admitted, it's probably going to be enough. So my undergrad alma mater, Iowa State, still, as far as I'm concerned, still the best university in the whole world. Just like I know Matt's going to say his is the best for, it's not a selective school. They admit 89% of the students, but I think it's the greatest university ever, right? If for my nephews and nieces who still live in Iowa that want to go there, I'm only helping them. We're focused on the defensive strategy. We're just making sure their grades and their test scores are where they need to be, right? But as the school selectivity gets harder, as that admissions rate drops down to like a flip of a coin or lower, then you can't rely on your defensive strategy. That's not enough because all the other applicants have that same academic profile. You need a strong offensive strategy, right? And so where I did my graduate, USC, I could have a 1600 SAT. I could have a perfect 4.0 GPA. I could have taken every single AP and aced everything. And you could still easily get rejected because the defensive strategy is not enough. You got to have a strong offensive strategy. So you just got to understand the nuances of how you might have to adjust your strategy depending on what your school list looks like. Plain and simple. Want to go to the next slide?
Maybe it's on this slide. If it's not, all the question. Oh, okay, there you go. Because here you go. I should know.
So the lighter gray, and I got to redesign it to make a pyramid or something. It would be better visual. But the lighter gray, that's your defensive strategy again. GPA, test scores, academic rigor, right? Your offensive strategy, this kind of darker gray. I'm going to say I struggle with this term because it's a bit too marketing for me, but what they like to call nowadays, know your personal brand. Back in my day, I just think of it as know your genuine, authentic self. Be able to tell your story, right? All the other stuff here, think of it as this way: your defensive strategy, that's your in class knowledge. The offensive strategy, like strategic extracurriculars and things, that is your hands on knowledge. So the stuff you're doing that's not in class, not offered by school, right? So when I say strategic extracurricular activities, I'm not talking about the stuff that like band and sports and all that stuff. Do that stuff if you want, but it will not impress admissions, right? It's not unique. It's not special. Um, I always say like you could be the quarterback of the football team. Guess what? There's how many high schools with football teams? Like you're one of thousands, and so you're not special. Sorry. That's not going to cut it. So we like to call it a lot of times fit to major extracurricular activity. So if I want to be going into mechanical engineering, um, saying I started a poetry club, not really fit to major. Do it if you want, but it's not fit to major, if you will. Obviously, you got to demonstrate intellectual curiosity, demonstrate initiative. Initiative is everyone talks about leadership, right? I don't know how many of you have heard, oh, we got to exhibit leadership. Here's the problem with leadership: if everybody was a leader, nothing gets done. Right? Most leadership is just position titles only, at least with all the kids I talk to. What admissions wants to see is that you demonstrate initiative, make something out of nothing. Okay. That is what's important. Networking. No, everyone completely forgets the importance of networking. Like we all as adults know how important it is to network in your career. Students need to know how to network with admissions, right? These are the sorts of things you got to work on if you need a strong offensive strategy. So anyway, broad brushstrokes here. I know I'm going quick, but that's the method to my madness, right? That is what you got to think about doing. Is how I approach, like, again, just so you're not overwhelmed. How do you approach, like, okay, how do we get into college? Start with know your why. Why are we going to go to college? Like, and if you need help with that, we can help with that, right? But otherwise, then it's like, if you know that direction, now start figuring out and going, okay, what schools are the right academic fit? Okay, narrowed it down. Now let's see, put them in the MyCap software. Do they fit my budget? Is this a good ROI? You'll be shocked at some of these schools where you think are like renowned and famous and wonderful. You can see just how negative an ROI they might be, versus another school where you're like, oh no, that's not like highly ranked. And it's like, that's a way better ROI of a school. So use the MyCap software there. But anyway, keep narrowing it down. Then let your kids shop. Let them shop for their I wants, and at that point, you kind of are safe. It's like, we know as an academic fit, as a financial fit. Let them shop. Let them pick it out. Then work on the admission strategy. Okay, so that's my overview, if you will. That's what I do with families between sophomore, junior, years, and then by the time they're started their senior year of school, like we're finishing up their applications. So anyway, hope that helped.
Help me, as it always does. But give me a and sorry if you said this, and if you did, just tell
No
me
worries.
to shut up. I was answering some questions in the Q&A there. But did you double click on demonstrate interest? And just because I have a feeling a lot of parents are hearing that term for the first time, and just I know how important it is. If you just
Yeah, think of it as this is what I call networking, if you will, in multiple ways. So think of it this way. So like all my friends that work in admissions, they love their jobs. I mean, they drink the Kool-Aid and they think they have the greatest job. They think they work at the greatest school, blah, blah, blah. All of them do. And even though they are super excited about their career and they're super excited to meet the high school students and like all that stuff, at like this time of year when they're reviewing applications, you're going through hundreds a day. it becomes like a DMV process. Like it's just like next, 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 that, you want it so that when the regional admissions counselor, whoever's your child's like gate, gatekeeper, the first person that's going to see their application, I always say this is just human nature. You want them to so that when they see that application, they go, "Oh, I know little Johnny or little Susie. Like, man, I came out to their high school and because they invited me, things like that. I had great chats with them over the past year. You want them to already kind of in a good positive way know who they are, right? Again, it's human nature. So that way, if they're down to going, okay, I got one spot left, I got 5 applicants to pick from. I know none of these 4, but I know that one. Human nature says they're picking the one they know. Okay. So network, network, network. Anytime you go do a campus visit, network. You could even potentially, depending on what academic path you're going, network with faculty. Maybe you can do a research project or something like that, and you can build on that on your application, right? Um, Little things like sign up, and this is the ticky tack stuff, but it can matter sometimes. Sign up for the like, tell us more on the admissions website, and then yes, you're going to get all the spam emails, but you click them, because a lot of these schools have the software that tracks. We sent you an email. Did you click it? No, that looks bad. So click the emails. They might sometimes they even know like what sites you went to, how long you're on the site. So be mindful, but play the game. Track that stuff. That's the little stuff, but nothing beats conversations with the admissions. Okay.
And I think it's like it's funny. You would have think I would have figured this out of like because in some ways it's common sense when you hear this, but it's relatively new to me because again I haven't been an admissions expert and but now that I've got to know so many of these folks that work on that side of the fence and be privy to the conversations they have in these the admissions committee. This kid's is out, this kid's in, and here's why. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
believe how much comes down to this where and again, it makes sense. If you know you want to go to Rice University, don't let the first time that they hear about you or of you is when they read your application, right? You already want to be nurturing those relationships, showing up. A lot of these schools keep a score. Are they liking our social media posts? Are they sharing it? Are they retweeting it? Is like, and again, that has less emphasis than like JP said, the human interaction. But I think that's unbelievably valuable advice, and we've seen it pay dividends. And again, when you hear that, you're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense, right? That's kind of how the world works, right?" So give me just 1 second here because I want to show you a couple of things, and I promise I will keep our word here with our kind of unique um, kind of giveaway tonight, for lack of a better term there. But I just want to as promised, kind of show you that one, how we have this, I think is a great way to have an unbiased third party help you have this affordability conversation with your kids, right? And for yourselves as parents. But as you're onboarding in the platform, we're going to ask you about how much can you pay a year for college. And then there's another once you get onto the platform, before you start borrowing, by the way, we're going to give you some more tips to help you drill down a little bit more. What do you have in the 529? What do you pay for it a month? Are there any other savings you can draw from? Are grandparents contributing? Can you do anything monthly cash flow? To help you figure out a back of the napkin annual budget, we'll do all the math for you. But then that's going to say, okay, well, over the cost of 4 years after financial aid and scholarship, if it's relevant, here's what the school is going to cost you when we bake in inflation and things like siblings going in and out. Here's your budget. Here's the delta that somebody's going to have to borrow. Is that a good end result, right? And why? Why do we want to be cautious at UC Santa Barbara? Well, because somebody, it's going to cost us 300 grand because we're out of state and the UCs don't give money. We have a $100,000 budget total over 4 years. So somebody's on the hook for 203,000. Now, teenagers are going to go debt. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to be a baller. Let me go out to UCSB. I'm going to get a sick job and 200 grand stuff. They don't know, right? I'm picking on the boys, right? But they don't know a teenager brain what it means to borrow 200,000 versus 60,000 versus 30,000. abstract, but I promise you, no, it'll resonate because we've seen it in real life. Taught a class locally here, and this was an aha moment, and because this is what I've experienced. Know what they will understand and say, hey, you got a summer job, right? Your first monthly payment, if you want to go to UC Santa Barbara, is going to be $2,259. It's pretty hard to make $2,259 in a month, right? That's kind of a number that they can wrap their arms around. And I'm not saying we never tell a kid where they should go or where they should apply, or a family. You will never hear us say, don't apply here, don't go there. Our job, our responsibility and obligation is to make sure that you understand with eyes wide open exactly what you're signing up for. Right now, obviously, there's exact is maybe too strong of a word, but directionally, generally speaking, how is this is a crystal ball. This is what this outcome is going to look like, barring some kind of massive changes here. And it doesn't mean don't apply to this. Maybe there's a miracle. Maybe we get a full basketball scholarship, whatever. But this is probably close to our reality. And let's at least hedge our bets. Let's make sure we got a lot of ideal outcomes, a lot of great outcomes, a lot of good outcomes, right? That's what you want to be doing. So no matter what, we're hedging at a minimum. So kind of as promised here, this is what we're going to do tonight. And this is unique. Um, I'll talk to you in a second about our kind of full services, but let me just talk about tonight's kind of promotion. And again, we've never done this before. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Now, if you go to sign up right now, if you go on our website and sign up for the premium version of our software, you'll see it costs $149. Okay, if you want to get the premium version plus an hour with one of our experts, it's $349. Anybody that's live that signs up tonight, um, through the chat here, you'll get on there for 25 bucks. Okay. That's going to come with a 30-minute call with one of our experts, or Zoom, right? So it's not a full hour, but for $25, you'll get 30 minutes with JP or Jason or Kevin. These are absolute studs in this industry. Um, and you'll get premium access to the software. So you'll get all the features, right? So for example, in the free version, you can only put in 3 colleges. You can't get at that advanced search. You don't have the CAP Academy, okay, which includes some kind of member only content, office hours every other week with our experts, member only workshops, our AI powered kind of our cute little name, our CAP GPT here. So you get access to all this for 25 bucks plus a 30 minutes with one of our experts one on one. If you sign up tonight, right? It's kind of we usually do promotions just for the folks that show up live for us. This is a newer one for us. I think it's one of the more robust offerings we've done. You risk 25 bucks. If you think it stinks, you don't want to stay with us, you didn't get any value, our platform's no good, you're out $25. If you want to stay on, just about everybody does, it's $9.99 a month after that. Okay. And again, you'll have a chance to meet with JP or Jason or or Kevin, right? These will be obviously you say JP here, but you'll be meeting with one of these 3 guys. In addition, let's just say some of you are watching and you're like, you know what? I want to work with that guy. I want JP to help me and my kid through this whole admissions process. We have our comprehensive services are called our Wake Me Up When It's Over services. Okay. We have an admissions piece to this, financial aid piece to this. And then for a lot of people, they say, geez, I need help for both. And let me just spend a couple of minutes walking you through this. This is a little bit more about our company. And this is why people decide to invest in these more comprehensive services, right? Or there's a lot of reasons, but if I'm the consumer in your shoes, I want to say, okay, if I'm gonna, you know, come up with X amount of dollars to work with you guys, what am I going to get in return? On average, we save families $70,000. To be quite frank with you, that's a conservative number, something we can stand very tall on. It's data driven, right? This number does not get pulled from thin air. Save families a lot of time, right? That's time you get back with your kid. You're not having to be the one nagging them, managing deadlines. Did you do your essay yet? Do you have your college list compiled yet? Have you been showing that demonstrated interest? Are you on track for fit to major? Do you have strategic extracurriculars based on the schools and majors that you're thinking about, right? Is your essay dialed? Essay is more important than it ever has been, especially since this Supreme Court ruling, right? Our data also shows that obviously this is only with one of our admissions packages or combination packages, 3 times more likely to get into your top choice if you work with one of our admissions uh, experts, right? JP specifically. And his roster is filling up for the class 2026 here. So there's a little bit of urgency there. But if you join what we call our club tonight, if you join the club for 25 bucks and you decide, you know what, I want to I want the all in help, you get significant discounts as being part of our club for our Wake Me Up When It's Over packages and services. And during your 30-minute one-on-one calls, you can get the specifics. How much does it cost? Is it the right fit for my family? Is it even worth it? Um, but to expand upon it a little more, the financial aid service, okay? Um, we do everything for you. We grab the wheel, right? So we're going to put together this list of competing colleges. We're going to make sure you have the lowest SAI possible. We're qualifying for the max amount of financial aid. We're telling you which schools are going to give you the most money, which schools compete against one another. You say, we know we want to go here. We're going to say, well, guess what? You're also applying here. So we have that leverage. We complete the financial aid applications for you. Okay. We worry about who needs what, where, when, how in terms of FAFSA, in terms of CSS profile. If you apply to a Princeton or U Chicago, that means they have their own institutional applications. We do it all. Think of it like having a great CPA, right? And it's the how that matters. Yes, we'll save you time. You don't have to manage deadlines and do these admin tasks, but I think the real value there is how you present your situation in the colleges. That's going to dictate what you get in discounts, right? And then we're the ones on the front lines appealing, negotiating for more money. There's a method to that madness, right? JP was a director of financial aid at one of the most prestigious institutions. He knows what these colleges need to hear to give you more money, right? And again, as well as our team at large. And then we're going to help you pay the bill, right? If we have to borrow anything, how do we get the lowest rate? Should it be in my kid's name? Should it be in our name as parents? Is it both? I got some 529s. Do I exhaust it up front? Do I spread it out over 4 years? When should we take the grandparent contributions? All that stuff matters. Okay, let us give you firm recommendations there. So there's very tangible ROI there. And I guess on the kind of intangible front, I look at it as this is us grabbing the wheel for parent or parents, right? If you're a two household family, that's even more reason you should hire us, right? Um, so that's kind of that piece. The admissions front, this is I describe this as JP taking the wheel for your kid or with your kid, right? And he is going to lead the charge here and make sure that again they understand why, right? And they have those conversations, and JP's got kind of amazing touch when it comes to that piece. They have no idea where to start. JP knows how to get them going. They already have their list built. Great. Let's make sure that this what you presented to them or are presenting to them is as rock solid as possible. Let's make sure that this offensive strategy is completely dialed, right? And then obviously we're going to take care of the X's and O's and make sure that the essays are perfect. Make sure that our common app and our supplementals are perfect. I bet you didn't know that how you list the order in which you list your activities on your common application and on your school specific applications holds a massive weight. Okay, I just learned that a couple of years ago, and it makes sense. You know why? Because these admissions counselors are reading, like JP said, hundreds a day. They're not going to read all 10. They're going to read the first three. So that has to completely align with the rest of your package. So all these little things that again ultimately have a lot to do with the end result here. Okay. And then finally we have, well, damn, I need help with both, right? I need help with the financial aid piece. I need help with the admissions piece. If you do both, right, you get really significant discounts kind of shaved off of each of those, as opposed to getting them standalone. The standalones are the right fit for some people, right? Certainly, but a lot of people they just want help with both. So we'll talk about that, and that can be JP for both, or in some cases you're working with somebody on the financial side and JP on the admission side. But again, in order to qualify for the maximum discounts, if you're even thinking about it, sign up for the club tonight here. And again, how you do it is you say become a premium member, and you're just going to go ahead and pay through here, and then automatically as soon as you do that, you're going to get an email from us to say book a time this week or next to meet with JP or Jason or Kevin. And if that's all you want, beautiful. You're going to get a ton of value out of that 30-minute one-on-one call. If you want to learn more specifics, how much does this cost? Does it make sense for me to do the financial aid, the admissions, the combo? We will have all those conversations one-on-one. If thank you, I almost forgot that we have plenty of our premium, our club members already on here. If you are already a club member, you, yes, are entitled to that 30-minute phone call as well. Write into support at collegeaidpro.com. They will get you the link where you can get some one-on-one time with these guys without having to book and pay for a full hour. And the 25 bucks is good for a month. After that, it's $9.99. You cancel at any time. So again, after the 25 bucks, if you said, "Hey, I banged around in the software, didn't get a ton of value, didn't get much out of my 30-minute phone call with an expert," I'll be blown away if either of those two happened. And if you don't, you should cancel, right? You should cancel if we're not providing value there. The full service cost starts at $29.99, starts at 3,000 bucks. Okay. So 3,000 bucks for the wake FinAid Wake Me Only. Then it's 4,039.99 for admissions only, 64.99 if you want the combo because they're discounted. However, you're going to get, if you sign up to become a member, those are our rack rates. Okay, you don't pay those as members. Okay, you get at least 500 bucks off from any of our packages. If you're if you're in the club. So again, don't overthink that one, guys. Again, when we're talking about $100,000 a year for college, this $25 kind of gamble here, so to speak, is one you will thank yourself for. Yeah, and I see people are still asking for it, but I'll give you both links here. But JP, as I'm grabbing these, any kind of pardon words for you? What did I miss?
Honestly, no, I think you covered just about everything. I'll just say, like, timetable wise, like, for, because there was a lot of class of 2026, to give you an idea where I'm at with my kids. My class of 2026, like, they certainly, we've had the whole discussions. We've gone through a bunch of what I call a true north assessment. We got that sense of direction. We're finalizing the school list now. Like, we've gone through the academic fit, we've done the financial fit. The student is working on that, narrowing it down on their personal fit, and they're going to have that done. All of them are supposed to have it done in the next few weeks with me, and that's when we really go heavy on admission. The admission strategy, like, what's the defense, or which schools really do we need to do the offense on. So just kind of give you a sense of, like, base, where are you at, if for you parents who have a class of 2026, a junior, is your student, like, almost finishing up that school list? Do they kind of know where they want to go and all that? And so anyway, I hope that kind of gives you a sense of timing.
Now's the time. Said another way, now's the time. And JP's personal roster will fill up. We have another other admissions folks on our team, but you're probably not surprised to hear that our guys in high demand here. Yeah, and the link, guys, again to the 24 or $25 sign up, which again will come with your one-on-one meeting. It's right in the chat here. So you can go through that link, or you can, and here's the direct link just to pay, and check the email that we're going to require from you when you sign up, because that's when you'll get a link to a time to schedule one-on-one with one of our guys here, and take advantage of that right away. Because again, we have, this is kind of an experiment for us. We've never done this before. I don't know if I'll do it again. I have no idea. If it goes well, we probably will, but I don't know if it's going to. So take advantage of that. And again, if you really say, "Oh my God, that was a disaster of $25," you can write in here and maybe we can give you a refund. All right, JP, thanks, brother. I'm always learning something from you, so I can imagine these folks learn something from you. Grateful.
Absolutely.
All right, dude.
Have a great one, everybody.